Stay tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. Joan served the state of California as a member on the Arts Council and on the Film Commission. She was formerly on the Architectural Commission and fulfilled 2 terms on the Fine Arts Commission for the city of Beverly Hills. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview magazine, Condé Nast Publications, and the Hearst Corporation, Joan covered the world of fashion, the mysteries of food, the excitement of theater, and the international art scene. She continues to find people who are on the cutting edge of their professions. Here's Joan AGAJAINIAN Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. We're taping here at the Hollywood Museum on Highland in the historic Max Factor building, and our guests are entrepreneur Paul Hekimian and gallerist Laura Korman. Athlete, entrepreneur, community connector, humanitarian, visionary, and let me add, beekeeper, Paul Hekimian was born and raised in Houston, Texas, and came to Los Angeles after attending the University of Texas in Austin. He's the founder of the LA Triathlon Club, See Different, which is a very interesting thing, and Paul's Cheesecake, years ago, he'll tell us about that, and the Positive movement. So hi.
Well, thank you.
So
there's a long list there.
Yeah, what's Positive?
Well, positive is a way of being, and a friend of mine coined the name Positive after she called me one day and said, Paul, you live such a positive life.
Right.
Every time I call you, you have nothing but positive things, so I've coined the name Positive, and then the bells went off, and I started thinking about, I've always wanted to do public speaking, and I wanted to build a platform around having a positive attitude.
Is that what you're doing? Is that the movement? You have a movement going.
I hope so. It is. I mean, it's you know, in life you have a positive and or negative view, right? And a lot of people tend to hang on to negative aspects in their life and focus on the negative, whereas I really focus on the positive everything that I do.
I think that's so true. When you see somebody, you can just read that, can't you?
Oh, sure.
You can see it immediately. So when you were at the University of Texas, and you came to LA, what were your plans? Why didn't you stay in Texas?
All my exes are in Texas, so we love it. Actually, theater, acting. My love of you know, being an actor and being in radio, television, or film. I had that. You know, a little side note: Stacy Keach is my cousin, so I always looked up to Stacy Keach.
It's not really your cousin. Is it?
No,
oh,
seriously.
He really is?
My mom and Stacy have the same great grandfather. So you know, yeah. So I'm a third cousin. So you know, he's out there, but you know, he's still family down the line.
But did you see it when you came to LA?
Yeah,
you did?
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, you know, didn't really help out as much, but you know, my life turned into being more of an entrepreneur. But I did do some fun stuff.
Did you?
Yeah.
You did. I know what you did. Fiddler.
We did Fiddler in Russia.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. That was fantastic.
It was awesome. You know, we were part of a theater group that we were one of the first American theater groups to go to Russia and perform Fiddler on the Roof. And in fact, we went with Sheldon Harnick, who wrote all the lyrics to Fiddler on the Roof, and he performed with us with his wife.
How fantastic.
So that was memorable.
And did the Russians really accept it? Did they know Tevye? Did they know those people?
Oh, of course. It was not, you know, they were translating, and we sold out a 500-seat theater 5 days in a row.
Fantastic.
That's
amazing. A great experience. Because Barbara Eisenberg wrote the book on Fiddler on the Roof and all the different places it's been.
Right.
And that it's still working now.
Oh, yeah.
From when were you there, in the 80s?
Oh, we were there in 1990, right?
The 90s, right?
In 1990.
So here we are, the actor, and then we get into food.
Yeah.
How do we get into that? Paul's Cheesecake?
Paul's Cheesecake started after having a family friend's recipe that was amazing, and we kept asking my friend's mom to make us a cheesecake. She goes, you know, the old adage, I'm not going to, you know, bring you fish, I'm going to teach you how to fish. So she taught us how to make the cheesecake. And so I have a twin brother, and he and I were making them during the holidays for family and friends and making extra money.
You were the two of you?
Yeah.
Is he identical?
Yeah.
I have identical twins, too. We didn't
I met your sister. No, I met
You
your
met
daughter. You met one of them.
But you didn't meet both of them, and I haven't met your brother. Where's your brother?
In Texas.
Oh, he's there.
He's still there, yeah.
Okay, is he still making cheesecake?
So the cheesecake, yeah, he's not making cheesecakes, no. But the cheesecakes, it actually took off. I actually walked into Gelson's one day in Century City, Victor Benish Bakery, and they tried one, and they ordered on the spot. And then after that, it just kept snowballing. In fact, I was kind of like the celebrity of all these celebrities were ordering my cheesecakes from. In fact, I was delivering my cheesecakes to Frank Sinatra on his birthday year after year.
Is that right?
Michael Caine was a great client. Jackie Collins, the writer.
Wow.
I was at her house every week.
She loves cheesecake, I'm sure, yeah. What kind of recipe was it?
Graham cracker crust, cream cheese layer, and then a sour cream layer on top. So I wouldn't call it a New York cheesecake. I would call it more of a California or more creamier cheesecake.
But that's pretty normal. My mother used to make a cheesecake like that.
It wasn't a secret.
But what was so different? Did you put lemon? She used
Yeah,
to put
the
a little
lemon,
lemon,
the vanilla, sugar, and it was really based the graham cracker crust. And I think what it is it's very time consuming because you have to bake the crust, then the cream cheese, and then you have to put it in again for the sour cream. So it's in the oven 3 times.
And at that time, was there a food channel? Were you on the food
No,
channel?
I wish.
There wasn't?
There wasn't. Unfortunately. I missed it. There wasn't even the internet back then, so,
So it was all word of mouth.
It was.
I mean, one celebrity would tell another.
Tell the next and the next, and literally I was building train sets with Eric Estrada in the holidays. They would always ask me into their homes. I would, personally, when it was going to a celebrity, I would deliver it myself and hand it off. Yeah.
And you would make it. You had a kitchen.
I had a
You had a kitchen.
I had a commercial
it was
kitchen.
Really unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so, I want to remember the cheesecake because I think that takes us into the honey, which we have here.
I know.
But I want to talk about the LA Triathlon Club because I think it's so great. And you weren't an athlete.
No.
Do you consider yourself an athlete now?
A little bit. Yeah, more so than I was, when I first started the club.
Are you in good shape?
I think I'm in decent shape. I have 2 boys now, and they're growing up, and it's more about them now than me. And so I still race. In fact, I'm racing tomorrow.
Oh, you are racing.
A bicycle. I'm a part of a relay team of a triathlon, so I'm doing the bike.
So
portion.
talk about the LA Triathlon Club because it's 3 different things, right?
Yeah. So triathlons are swimming, biking, and running, and then there's different distances of triathlons. So there's sprints, Olympic, a half. Distance of a full, and then a full distance, which is typically an Ironman Kona. You see the big one. Yeah.
Have you done that one?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe when I turn 50 next year. But I started the club because I wanted to create a network of athletes and the pay it forward, effect. I wanted to learn about how to do a triathlon, so the club was established to provide the learning or the resources to become a triathlete.
It's like an educational thing.
Oh, yeah.
Do people know that they can come here and learn about it? Do they come to you and say what?
Yeah, they're new. Usually, when you start doing triathlons, you've done something monumental in your life. You've raced a marathon, and then you think to yourself, "What can I do next to challenge myself?" And then they think, "Oh, triathlon," and that's where they'll join LA Tri Club, and then we have a myriad of things that they could do.
Can you do
train.
parts of a triathlon?
Yeah.
Well, you're doing
That's what
part
I'm
of
doing
it now.
this
Yeah.
weekend. Yeah.
And then I think the other interesting thing is it's C, capital C for C.
C, yeah, the C.
Different.
C Different was established for blind and visually impaired athletes to do triathlon. So me and a few others would guide athletes, and one thing led to another, and we started more and more visually impaired athletes started to come to us, and we formed the See Different Foundation.
That's so fantastic, and you swam with one of those
Yes,
people.
in fact.
How could you do that?
Well, in fact, it was Alcatraz. They dropped us off on Alcatraz, and we swam across the bay, and I'm tethered to her.
Oh, tethered.
Yeah, with a rubber, tether. So I'm in front, she's swimming behind me, and we kind of, make our way across.
Can you talk?
It's funny. It's all about communication. And on the bike, on the run, we're slowing down, hold on, we're going here, look out here, and it's all about
It reminds me of a porpoise in
Yeah.
a way, like communication,
Sure.
but on a different level,
Different
right?
level.
But you were really bringing someone.
Yeah, and it's such a, you do triathlons for yourself. It's a self sport. But when you do it for someone else, it just brings on a whole nother feeling or effect. It really
also, you have a
means different.
responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
You have a big responsibility.
Huge. And I've actually was in a race one time, and we were running along a curb, and the person I was guiding fell off the curb and scraped her knees, and I felt really awful.
You did the running part too. You did this. You've done all
bike
parts?
and run with the athlete.
Oh,
and
with
yeah.
the impaired?
Yeah, with visually impaired, and on the bicycle, they're on back, and you're on a tandem.
Oh,
so
wow.
you do all three. Yeah.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Really fabulous. Did you feed them cheesecakes?
Everyone gets cheesecake.
Do you do that all the time when you have your get-togethers?
Oh, yeah.
Do you still make them?
I do. I still handcraft my cheesecakes from time to time. But right now, I outsource the baking now. I'm not in the baking business anymore,
Right.
but you can still get Paul's cheesecake.
So here, I have some honey.
Sure.
Do you use honey on your cheesecake?
I have. I've tested it. I haven't really perfected the honey cheesecake yet, but it's in the making.
It is, actually?
Yeah.
And why? Because you have a lot of honey in your backyard.
We have a lot of honey in my backyard.
Tell me how you got to be a beekeeper. You say you're second generation.
Yeah, second generation. My dad was a beekeeper growing up in high school. My dad started off just as a hobby, went from 1 hive to 60 hives. And I just remember every summer we're doing,
At your house? Or did you have a land?
We had some property. We had some property. In fact, it was at my dad's business, which was an automotive business. We had some acreage in the back, and we had all the bees back behind the shop.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And then how did he get into it?
My dad was in, it was Volkswagen repairs, right? So
Yeah.
bugs and bees.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, it's the bugs and bees.
Oh, my, how do you attach that to triathlon?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so then you had no choice.
So I had no choice. So we grew up doing that, and then what happened just around 3 years ago, my son found an open air hive in our own backyard. And so I decided that was the aha moment. We need to become beekeepers as a family. And sure enough, we rescued the bees. I reached out to Honey Love, an urban beekeeping nonprofit.
Oh,
which
yeah.
I'm on
Talk
the board.
about that, Honey Love. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, so Honey Love is an urban beekeeping nonprofit that educates the public about urban beekeeping. We have mentorships, we have monthly workshops, and the bees are in seriously a big danger. And if we don't protect the bees or educate the public of the importance of bees, then we could be in dire needs of bees. It's very drastic.
Because somebody said to me the other day, oh, I don't like bees. I said, no, you love bees, you don't like wasps.
Correct.
Is that right? Because that's what you said.
Statement.
Right,
Yeah.
right. You don't like wasps. But do people call you to move their hives? And where do we have hives in our neighborhoods?
Well, in LA, they're thriving. In fact, I think the stat is between 9 and 11 hives per square mile. So the bees are already here. They already exist. We just capture them when they're swarming and give them new homes. So we're almost like an adoption.
How do you capture them?
Well, when a swarm, people fear a swarm.
Right.
In fact, when they're swarming and they're in this big cloud and you see them land and they land in a big ball, that's the safest time that the bees are going to be in because they're not protecting a home. They're actually looking for a new home. So they're not in a state of wanting to sting or do anything. So you can just grab them. Literally what I'll do is if they're on a branch, I'll shake the branch and they'll fall into a bucket and I'll close the bucket and take them home and pour them into a beehive.
And you're wearing a costume.
Of
I call it a costume. What is it?
A bee outfit.
A bee outfit. What is it?
A bee uniform or, a veil, if you will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. To
But
protect
anywhere
yourself.
else on your body, all over?
Yeah, I'll be fully suited.
And we have 2 kinds of honey today.
Well, yeah.
But do they taste different?
Yeah, it depends on each batch that I extract from the bees and we harvest. Each time is a little, different. They're darker sometimes than others, and different parts of the city will produce different types of honey.
And what about the flowers? Because you say they don't like all flowers.
Like roses, yeah, no.
They don't like roses.
No.
That's so
I know.
amazing.
It's sage. It's other types of flowers that they really get the pollen and the nectar from. Probably the flowers, but they're behind you.
They like those?
I would imagine so. If they can get nectar and pollen from them.
And then before we leave, I know you're lobbying for laws for beekeeping.
Sure.
What is that?
Well, in Santa Monica, where I live, they have an ordinance, and we've passed the ordinance, and it's legal. But in Los Angeles County, it's not, and it's actually going to be passed.
You mean to have a hive in your backyard?
Sure. It's not that it's not against the law, it's just that they don't have an ordinance to regulate
I
it.
see, I see. So we don't have to worry about that.
It's
We
gonna
just have
pass.
to worry about the bees going to the right flowers.
That's right.
Because
Well,
if we don't have that, we don't have any food source, right?
yeah, 1 out of every 3 pieces of food we eat is pollinated by bees. So if the bees go, we go. So it's very important.
And so we go now. You're
Yeah.
going, and we'll
I'm
be.
going.
You're going.
You're going.
And we'll be right back with Laura Korman. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. We're here at the Hollywood Museum, and I'm with gallery owner, curator, Laura Korman, who was born and raised in Santa Monica. She's the daughter of comedy veteran Harvey Korman, and after she finished school in Santa Monica, she went to Scripps College and earned a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and Italian, and then she went on to get her master's at NYU in education and special education. So Laura, what were you going to do with all this special education, psychology, Italian?
I know, a lot of background. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on this show. I'm a fan. With the education, I was very passionate about that, but art has always been part of my DNA, part of my blood. Growing up with my dad, he passed away 7 years ago, but he was older growing up. I had an older dad, so he was kind of semi-retired. And in a way, I was very lucky because he encouraged us to pursue our own passions, but the creativity was there and took me to piano classes, art classes.
All different kinds of creative things.
Yes, exactly. I mean, he would joke as well that we had no idea who he was because, you know, we're so young that he was inducted into the TV Hall of Fame. I was around 16, and the last person he thanked was to his youngest girls who had no idea who he was. So
Yeah, they were like little kids at home?
we were just, it was us. We went, but I mean, we
went.
still had no idea. We really didn't. But in a way, it was good because he really fostered that creativity with us and had all that time to spend with us, which was
So
great.
he did. He took you to piano lessons?
Every piano, dance, music.
Oh, you were so lucky.
I was so incredibly lucky.
You
and
really
blessed.
were lucky.
Yeah.
Was he an art collector?
He wasn't, but I was. He encouraged us to follow our own passion, and visual arts was always my passion. And then I veered into education because I loved teaching, and I didn't feel like being a career as an artist was a feasible career.
Were you actually making art?
I was.
Oh, so you were. So you have that background
Yes,
to be
our
a
entire
curator
house.
and gallery owner.
Yes,
You
yes.
know what an artist does.
Oh,
or
very
what an
much
artist
so.
has to
What
go
goes
through.
into it, and I feel like a lot of dealers don't really have maybe that background to know what it feels like, what art goes into it.
That makes a big difference. But before we get into your art career, did you ever think of following in your father's footsteps, even though you didn't know what he was doing?
I know. Even though we didn't know, theater wasn't one of the best fortes for me in terms of the creative arts. I was shy. I actually was a mute as a kid.
But you know, sometimes they say the shy ones can get up there and be someone else.
And those are the comedians ones as well, you know? Yeah, they're
Was your
usually...
father like that?
He wasn't. He was one of the few that wasn't quiet. He was very much out there and extroverted, but the celebrities he surrounded himself with, you wouldn't believe how actually quiet and reserved they were.
Who used to come to the house?
Well, Carol, Tim Conway, and his wife Sharky. She's my godmother.
Oh,
so,
that's nice.
But you know,
Were
for the
they
most part,
influencing you too? Were those people coming to the house?
they were. But in a way, I mean, it was. I was towards the later part of his life, so I wasn't as exposed to it, you know. But he did appreciate education and teaching. That would be his other profession. He always said if he were.
Did he ever teach comedy?
He did a
did,
lot. Yeah, but acting was, you know, in his blood, his first passion. And for me, I thought education would be the way to go because I wanted to share, you know, my passion of art as well with the world. I just didn't know how to do that.
Did you ever teach? Just
Yeah,
a regular
I did.
class?
Well,
Did you?
I got certified in New York when I lived in New York.
Did you? Did you?
Yeah, and at UCLA, I was teacher's assistant there at the
you
elementary
did?
school. You
Oh,
know,
yeah,
UES.
UEA.
UES, yeah.
UES,
but I think they
right.
call it UCLA Lab School now. But yeah, I taught. They let me teach art there, which was great.
Oh, you were teaching art.
Yeah,
Oh,
just
so it was
I mean,
perfect.
they let me do those
Yeah.
classes. So when I returned from NYU, I realized I couldn't veer too far away from the art. I just needed to be around it. So I started interning at Bergamot Station, which is the best venue.
Tell us what Bergamot Station is. It's in Santa Monica.
Yes, it is the largest art gallery complex on the West Coast.
And it was started years ago, right?
21 years ago, I
Yeah.
believe. And it wasn't intended to be as successful as it was because it was always going to be that train station there, which it is now.
Now it's a metro stop.
Now
and
it
some
is.
of the galleries are gone.
So a few of them have left, but you know, we actually formed an association, which never happened over 20 years. And I started the petition to save Bergamot. And a lot of people are wondering what happened. We signed this petition that said save Bergamot. Is it saved?
Is it saved?
It is.
It is saved.
It is saved.
And, but is there a stop right there?
There is a stop. In about 6 months, it'll be open to the public. People can go downtown, come back to
And come right back
Santa
to where
Monica.
you are, right? To,
Yeah, the last stop is at the beach, and it's a great opportunity. And you know, I saw that something was lacking at Bergamot. They needed to form an association, have this petition, and there are developments that need to happen. But if you think about globally, have you ever been somewhere where you can park for free and go to galleries for free and
Or
over
get off a
30
train.
or
You'll
get
be
off a
able to do
train.
that, right? You'll be able to get off a train. Or they're going to have a hotel complex. So you can stay in the hotel and walk to your
Right,
gallery.
supposedly restaurants. I mean, it's going
Yeah.
to be more accessible to everybody, and that's what's so great about Bergamot right now as well.
Did it take a lot of people to sign your petition?
We got almost 12,000 signatures.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Oh, that was great.
And then I worked with, you know, the association and city council in Santa Monica. But that all came after I was director
Right.
at another gallery.
So you started, there was a shift in your career, obviously.
Yes. Yeah.
And you went to Tag Gallery, or TAG. What do they
Right.
call it?
It's the artist gallery.
The Artist Gallery, TAG.
Right.
And you worked your way up.
I did.
You were curating.
It just kind of shows the younger generation and people trying to make it in the art world that if you work hard, you can make it.
I
you
know. You just found a spot.
I found my calling, and I realized that this was what I needed to do, and I wanted to start my own gallery.
So how do you organize a gallery? That's a good question.
Yes, that is very difficult. I understand now why people don't do it now, but it's extremely rewarding at the same time. You have to have a mission, you have to have a brand and a vision to start a business.
It's an
Something
art
else.
gallery. That tells you what it is. So what
yeah.
more do you need?
Well, I feel like the accessibility factor is something that's really important to me. Whether it be something that's colorful or beautiful, or something that tells an interesting story, or something that is structurally innovative.
You mean your gallery has to be like that?
I feel like I want it to be accessible to everyone.
So what kind of space do you find?
You mean the space that I have at Bergamot?
Yeah.
It's a great space. It's 800 square feet, but it's the perfect size for me. I feel like when someone walks in that they feel welcomed, they feel like they can enjoy the art, experience it, feel inspired, and then leave feeling some type of release.
Because so many people are afraid to go in.
Exactly.
They're intimidated. It's
Exactly.
like a museum, which I never realized people don't want to walk in those doors.
Right.
And I think galleries are the same way, because there's somebody sitting at a desk watching you.
Yeah.
And
Can
you
I
go
walk
like,
on this floor?
Right.
Is it okay?
Or is it, she doesn't know me, can I come in?
Right, and I really feel like it's not necessary, you know. So.
But how do you find artists then to start a gallery, and what kind of focus do you make?
Well, that's the general focus. Is I am kind of more drawn to abstract lately, but innovative materials, something that says something. You know, something my dad used to say, and I think this goes across all of the arts. And I know it might sound kind of simple, but it has to have the it. It has to have the it.
But
The
who
it
finds
factor.
the it?
Me.
Who finds the it
Me.
factor, right?
I find the it factor, you know, the thing that you can't necessarily describe. because no matter what the background is or the training, if someone doesn't have it, they just don't have it, you know, and everyone has different tastes.
You can tell.
I feel like I can. There was just an article posted, the NYU did these researchers, and you know, we're already aware that certain neurons fire when we look at art.
Yes.
It's stigma,
True,
you know,
right.
the stimulus, and we have a reaction. But now it's actually showing that it can transcend cultures and backgrounds and education, because we might have the same taste in art, but someone else might not.
Well, that's
So-
what I was going to say. It triggers something in you, but it might not trigger it in me.
Exactly. So it is very much subjective, I think. But then again, you think about actors and famous musicians, and
Right.
it is pretty much transcendent. I mean, a lot of people do appreciate it.
And it affects you in different ways.
It
You're
does.
right. Like, we were at the Hollywood Bowl last night, and the violinist didn't affect me the way it was affecting the woman next to me.
Yeah.
And it was very, very strange, because she was great and she was into it. It just didn't.
You didn't connect with
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
And-
And
yeah.
that's what you need with an artist. And then your artist, you have this artist,
Catherine Rohrbacher.
I'm
What
gonna
I've
just
noticed
show-
with all of my artists is that, so Catherine, I've noticed that all of them have this dichotomy that we deal with in life, the opposites. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
this
with
is-
her, she deals with reality versus fantasy.
Here we are.
The artist has lupus, and so lupus in Latin means wolf.
Oh.
And that's why you see the wolves throughout her work as well. It's something she struggles with, but you don't necessarily need to know that to appreciate the art.
And here you have it together. You have her together with her,
They're
right?
all self-portraits, and you know what my favorite quote from Picasso is, "Who sees the human face correctly? The photographer, the mirror, or the painter?" And I think in this case, the painter.
I was
does.
just going to say the painter, because it's her, right?
It's her.
And then somebody else, you have another Catherine.
Another Catherine Zulon Man, and she is kind of, her works are hybrids because she herself, she's Asian American, and they're very abstract explosions, but she deals with another dichotomy of chaos versus order.
And I'm going to show, is this right?
Yes, that's her as well. Yeah, they're
This
gorgeous.
is very blue, very strong.
Large, 60-inch pieces.
Oh, they're 5 feet.
yes.
Oh, they're huge.
They're very
Are
big.
they
That's
on
why I couldn't bring
canvas?
them. Those are on paper framed, but the other ones are canvas. This is my new artist, Jordan Eagles, and he's known as the blood artist.
Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about. Yeah, talk
so
about
talk
that.
about dichotomies. You're dealing with the dichotomy of life and death, and blood that deals with the transformation that.
Does
that
he
goes through.
actually use blood?
He does. It's a recycled blood. I'm an animal activist, so I wouldn't be anywhere near any of that. But it's thrown out. He recycles it. He preserves it in UV resin and incorporates copper, which is a conductor of electricity. So you've got that coming into it. And then they're in plexiglass. And they're these just gorgeous pieces. I mean, you wouldn't even have to know the medium to know.
Okay, tell me how you get people into your gallery and how you sell these things.
Well, I've just opened, literally. I've just opened.
Oh, great.
I've got my artists slowly through connections, people that I know,
I see.
and art fairs, actually.
And also, do they have followings so that if
They
you have a
do.
new show, the people who collect their work would be there?
Yes, I've kind of, they have following. A lot of my artists are on the East Coast, if you
Yes,
notice.
I noticed
So I'm
that.
kind of extending their audience to the West Coast, but they're more mid-career artists. So
That's fantastic. Well, we wish you a lot of good luck.
Thank you so
And
much,
let me
Jen.
tell you, I talked to your mother, and your
Yes.
mother said your father would be so proud of you. Isn't
thank
that
you so
sweet?
much.
She was so,
Thank
she
you.
said her father would be so proud of her. And so I
That
wanted
means
to
a
make
lot
sure
to
I
me.
said that.
Thank
And
you.
thank you. We're proud of Laura, too. We've noticed that she was a little girl. And you keep writing to JAQUINN1 at AOL.com.